Noon. This is a Saturn day Mercury hour, and we are going from a Saturn day to a Mercury hour. So Mercury to Mercury night. So Mercury days and nights a great time to also honor Sedna and learn about Inuit culture. So I probably will be doing a separate video about more about Sedna and stuff that I discovered this Wednesday, as I have my Sedna currently in the fourth house. And funnily enough, I live in Israel, southern Israel, okay, just a couple of kilometers from the slaughtered villages. And um, and another couple of kilometers from Gaza, of course. But the thing is that the presence of Sedna in the fourth house was not so felt. And then when the war happened, the themes of Sedna, which is themes of betrayal at the homeland, were very, very evident. So I will be doing a separate video about honoring Sedna and the teachings of Sedna in this time. But now I'm actually desiring to look at 2024. So I'll begin to look at 2024. We'll see how much I'll do here. Right now, the ascendant is Venus ruled, with Venus in the fifth house, which I love, but she's exactly opposing Neptune. So she's in detriment in Virgo, and she's exactly opposing Neptune. And the ascendant is conjuncting, widely conjuncting Uranus. The midheaven is Saturn ruled in Aquarius in the 10th house, with Saturn in the 11th house of Pisces, Jupiter ruled with Jupiter in the first house. So Saturn is already direct. So yes, it makes sense that the spirit of the time, Saturn, is going to arise. Sun is on 11th degree of Scorpio. The moon is conjuncting the IC here, 3 degrees Leo, separating from opposition to Pluto, and the nodes are on 23 degrees Aries and Libra respectively. Vertex is conjuncting Ketu in Libra. Now, without further ado, let's take a look at 2024. I'm going to do the annual astro calendar by AstroSeek and kind of pinpoint the main events. Well, yes, so I'm looking at 2024. Let's take a look at the moons here. Do I have notification of when the eclipses are? No. I want to begin with the eclipses, the most eventful events that we have in a year. Even though I made videos about eclipses in Libra and Aries cycle, and I made a lot of videos, but still I think it is appropriate to begin with that. So we are going to have 4 more eclipses. Okay, 4 eclipses in 2024. Believe me, you don't need more than that. Okay, so the first of those is going to be on March 25, 2024. It's going to be penumbral, so partial lunar eclipse in Libra. And then we are going to have another one in April 8 in 19 degrees Aries. Okay, the first one, 5 degrees Libra. And the next one, total solar eclipse in 19 degrees Aries. And this one is probably going to be quite big. And then we have on September 18, 2024, we already have a partial lunar eclipse in Pisces on your broadcaster's ascendant, a degree for my ascendant. I can't stress how not looking for this I am, but it's a part of what we have to go, at least is Rahu, not Ketu. But yes, 25 degrees Pisces. So we already are having the first eclipse on the Pisces Virgo axis in 2024. Okay. Yes, it's going to be Mercury Jupiter. I think on a mundane level, it's not going to be as big as the Libra and Aries axis. Simply because, yes, it's going to be a little bit of trade, a little bit of health, but Aries is in Aries with the eclipse. Like if we go through this cycle of eclipses, unless you have ascendant Virgo or ascendant Pisces, it's really not that terrible. Okay, one of them is going to be with Saturn and Neptune. But if you go through the Aries one, then you are very likely to go through the Neptune one too. And the last eclipse of 2024 is going to be on October 2nd, 2024, annular solar eclipse in Libra, 10 degrees Libra. So, just a tiny bit of look at them. They are going to have, yes, eclipse. Oh, we have the impact charts finally. I'm wondering, how do people do this? Okay, this is impact chart, or it's something different than what I thought it's going to do. No, I thought it's the impact like astrocartography, but no, because I looked at eclipses. Gonna have to do it again. So we're gonna have the eclipse chart. I don't know how people see on over which place it is visible. So eclipse chart for the first eclipse. Just a tiny little bit. Now the first thing that I got, because I'm broadcasting from Israel, I was looking here like at the Israeli flag, and it's kind of like up until then, who knows what will this region be registered by? So it's kind of like, I don't know if it's intuition or just a thought, but I'm sharing with you. We don't know. Okay. Now, this eclipse is going to be not doing very much in terms of aspects, but there's going to be a very interesting presence here of Rahu in 16 degrees Aries, Chiron 18 degrees Aries, Chiron direct, and Mercury in 23 degrees Aries. So just the co-presence of these. And if I go to the asteroids here, then let's see where Aries in Aries is. And she is in 24 degrees. So Aries will conjunct Mercury on this eclipse. It's not conjuncting the nodes. Okay, we've had the eclipse that conjuncts the North Node and Aries. We are seeing it now. You know, I literally said, because I was expecting this to be something to do with transgenderism, and I literally said, if a person defines themselves as a ball of salad during this eclipse cycle, then please accept it. Don't fight over this. But what I am seeing is that it's actually pulling up a 500-year cycle to do with what people call anti-Semitism, which is very misleading because it's basically referring to Jews. And I see that is up. I predict Irish people, also Irish people, to also be up somewhere on the news because it's basically dealing with marginalized peoples and their identities. And this is how we see it, which is like totally fascinating. And of course, with people that are Palestinians, but there I think the cycle on the nationality level, the cycle is shorter. On the people's level, things are exposed, like they lived here 9,000 years ago, we lived here 4,000 years ago, and war is ridiculous. Aries is going to definitely put to ridicule anything of that sort. Okay, right from Jews I literally have a Twitter, I'm following a person on Twitter who is a doctor, and she's Jewish and she has studied anti-Semitism. But she said that the people in Canada that put mezuzah on the Christian people who put the a Jewish symbol on their doors so that people will not find Jews easily because they stand in solidarity. This is literally risking their lives for Jewish community. And they just put a little fish there because they're also Christians, so they're Jewish. She called it cultural appropriation, and when people didn't always agree with her, then she said it was, what do you think about them putting a fish on the Jewish symbol on the mezuzah? And I was like, have you heard about religious tolerance? People are risking their lives for us. And so I think this is a part of the great compassion, but also the ridicule of what we call appropriation, the ridicule of nationalistic identities, but also addressing things that are of at least 500 years cycle, or 559 years cycle, to do with identity. Okay, I can't ignore. I wasn't expecting this, I have to admit. I was thinking, oh, transgender people, all kinds of weird identities are going to pop up, but I wasn't expecting to kind of like pull in from the grave the old, we lived here 9,000 years ago, we lived here we lived here since the great Big Bang, you know, when eventually what it is about, we all need a living space to be safe, a couple of acres, so that we can retreat to ourselves, and so we need to be more inclusive of people. But hey, you know, the astrologer is not always 100% accurately predictive, and then it's good to address this. I didn't see that one coming. I know there was going to be a war in Israel and Palestine because I'm channeler, but I didn't see that one coming in terms of the identity or the eclipse around Aries and the stupidity that I see in the world at large. I'm like, okay, but this stupidity is risking life. So yes, here Mercury is still going to conjunct Aries, but it's going to be co-presence. It's not going to be as tight as we've seen it in April. What is going to be mitigating here is Pluto. Pluto is going to be on 1st degree of Aquarius, direct, and is going to sextile the Sun and trine the Moon. So it may be the beginning of we the people outthrowing all kinds of weird leaders, as well as the international court system. Okay. But it can also be the globalists wanting to mitigate the wars. Okay, so it really is a long time from now, but we only have Pluto in Aquarius to mitigate that. And Pluto is young in Aquarius. He's been through that point, and the people were not behaving well. When Pluto was retrograde in Aquarius, people were lynching people, homeless people in the train, like really, really stupid stuff that you read only in Dostoevsky, but this happened. And so, unfortunately, I don't know how I feel about this supposed mitigation. And when Pluto is young, then people tend to do more stupid. So they will try to mitigate the conflict of the Aries Libra, the Mars Venus. And let's look at where is Mars and where is Venus. So Mars is in Pisces, not too far from Fomalhaut. Mars in Pisces, well, it is very intuitive, and it does go with the flow. So whatever it has to do, it does. Okay, it is the Jupiter place of Pisces, so it's a better place for than, let's say, the last decan of Pisces, whereas Mars ruled. But on the other hand, this is a very optimistic Mars, and it has reasons to be optimistic because it's very competent. Mars Pisces merges with the goal. Okay, the goal is something you merge with, and it doesn't stop to necessarily think what does it do to achieve the goal. It's like, okay, then that too, then that too, then that too, because it's a fish that swims with the current of the waters. It will do what it takes. It can be very powerful for people who need to survive and do anything they need to survive. So refugees, people that are in very risky situations, even people who are kidnapped, they can outsmart the kidnapper with this Mars. But when it comes to people who think they have it right and they have it wrong, then also they can be, it's not the relentlessness of Scorpio, it's more like, I just go with the flow. Like you fight me in this way, then I fight with you in this way. I don't argue with you about the way that you fight. I just do what you do, and that can be very, very difficult because in situations where you do need to be superiorly moralistically superior to your opponent, this Mars here might not do it. If you think about outthrowing of apartheid, then Nelson Mandela was creating change within the society. He married the persons from another bloodline, another tribe. So he basically began to abolish blood segregation within African tribes, as well as whatever he got from the whites that he considered good, then he implemented that. He stood up to the monarchy of African people, and then apartheid became obsolete because it became ridiculous to accept apartheid when we accept Mandela. But before we accepted Mandela, it was not ridiculous to accept apartheid because there was already bloodline segregation, there was already monarchy of one particular bloodline. The values of sharing and caring with each other perhaps were beginning to deteriorate from within. And so then came apartheid. But Nelson Mandela basically overthrew apartheid because he changed what needs to change within society and thus became morally superior to his opponent. Okay, this is what Mars in Pisces should do with this. Okay, by being morally superior to your opponent and changing from within, you're making their oppression obsolete. Unfortunately, I can't say that on a Monday level this is what will be done, unless we have another Mandela. Maybe we have a Palestinian Mandela, maybe we have an Afghani Mandela. And I mean, we sure did an Israeli one too, huh? Unfortunately, for our own segregation inside is becoming very, very bad. So this is one eclipse. I'm not going to go too far over it because this is it. And where was Venus? Venus was also in Pisces, exalted, separating from Saturn, and sextile in Jupiter. So Venus here is also, although she's ruling Ketu, she is quite spiritual, and she sextiles. There's a nice reception here between Venus and Jupiter that is beautiful. Again, I don't know how it will play out. Okay, I was just thinking it's going to be people identifying as a bottle of wine with Aries in Aries, and it ended up like people marking Jews' houses and Palestinians are, a lot of them are Christians, and people becoming Islamophobic because of Palestinian people that are also Christians. So you see, it's very ridiculous. I did not predict this ridiculousness. I predicted another ridiculousness. And so, although there is nice reception between Venus and Jupiter, I am afraid, I'm cautious to say anything because yes, they can mitigate things. Um, they can create a little bit of compassion, a unity, maybe better situation for women. Okay, but this is wishful thinking here. So, because Mars is ruling Rahu, and we know what there is in Aries right now. There is Aries in Aries, and if she does address stuff like anti-Judaism, which was called anti-Semitism, and people like killing each other over religions, even though this is not the actual religion of the people that they're killing, then unfortunately I predict more of the same. Okay, but only maybe women being saved by men dying. Even that is not always the case. But you must remember that women did not get the right to vote until 2 generations of men died worldwide. It doesn't mean that women were not horribly treated and murdered in the 2 world wars. So, first eclipse done. Okay. Now to the second eclipse. Second eclipse, April 8, 2024. And this one is 19 degrees Aries, conjunct in Rahu, of course. It doesn't do very much on the planets level, but the ruler of Rahu, which is Mars, is conjunct in Saturn in Pisces. Saturn-Mars conjunction is what some astrologers call the syringe, because Mars is sharp things and Saturn is diligence. But in Pisces, there is an illusion as to what you need to analyze, okay? And Mars also rules poison, and Pisces is drugs, is medicine. So there can be a lot of misdiagnosis, misprescription, but even if people try to poison people, there's going to be a lot of confusion about this. Okay, so if you take, let's say, for the COVID, they had the Pfizer shots. Some of them actually gave people sugar instead of the shot. Yes, but some of them gave the shot, and this for some people it was legal, for some very disturbing, and for some didn't feel anything, and some people just gave a flu shot. That was the story. Something like this can arise with this one. Okay, there's just some sort of operation is being done, and even if it's military operations and disguised under medical, but there's another level of confusion here. There's another level of confusion. And it's going to, again, war is ridiculous. Aries in Aries, it shows us war is ridiculous. Aries in Pisces showed us the motherland is ridiculous. Very cautiously saying, relative to Mercury in Aries. Okay, Hitler had his Aries in Pisces. It was of the generation of Aries in Pisces, and he wanted the motherland, the great Germany in that myth. And eventually, this concept was put to ridicule after the Second World War. Okay, people became a lot more pragmatic. Germans left their nationalism. But in Aries, then we have war is becoming satirical. And this has been going on since the late 20s, okay? War is becoming satirical, our economic situation becoming satirical, okay? What you're being told to do, how you're being told to save, what you're being told is entrepreneurship or autonomy, okay? Aries puts to ridicule everything that people are holding on to. This is what I feel. Now Venus, the ruler of Ketu, is in Aries, 4 degrees, so she is also in detriment here And she sextiles Pluto. She's separating from conjunction with Neptune and separating from sextile to Pluto. When the ruler of Ketu is in the sign of Rahu, we get Back to the Future. I think when I gave the name for my thesis, Back to the Future, we had one of these situations when the ruler of Rahu was with Ketu, where the ruler of Ketu was with Rahu. It's basically Back to the Future. So she's bringing something of the past into the future. Maybe women that are warriors, maybe women that are combatants, again, maybe I'm wishful thinking. Or transgender women, maybe I'm wishful thinking. Maybe litigations against war crimes can happen in this situation again. Maybe it's wishful thinking, maybe it's not wishful thinking. Maybe it's just a cycle of boredom because we are redoing something that maybe belongs in the past, but also we could be bringing something from the past that's actually useful for the future. And so we are looking at how did we do diplomacy in the past, and we're doing the same stunts again. So expect things that we have already seen. And also remember, when was Rahu in Libra? Okay, when Rahu was in Libra, so 9 years ago, 10 years ago, what did the world do and what are we retrieving from there? I had an episode about Rojava that was kind of like a blast from the past recently. But here, I don't know, maybe we are learning from there. But there's just something that is Ketu ruled, the spiritual wisdom, or there's just something that we did in the past and we are bringing into the future, whether it's good or not. Next eclipse. So next eclipse is already in Pisces, September 18, 2024. And this is Sun in Virgo and the Moon in Pisces, 25 degrees respectively, where Venus and Neptune are now. Neptune is going to be retrograde. Jupiter, the ruler of the Moon, will be in Gemini, 20 degrees Gemini, and it's going to be squaring. It's going to be in a T-square here that's supposed to be resolved at around 20 degrees Sagittarius. So for me, for my career, it might be a bit of a moment because as my midheaven is there, or for Pisces ascendant or Sagittarius midheavens. Other than that, this T-square is a tension. The United States might be involved in this one because, again, Jupiter is on the Gemini Sagittarius axis, and it's the T-square supposed to be resolved at around 20 degrees Sagittarius. United States has, I think, 17 degrees Sagittarius ascendant. So there's something is going to happen with the United States. Jupiter is in detriment, okay? So the ruler of the chart, if that's on a mundane level thingy, it's not necessarily something comfy. And Mercury is the ruler of the Sun here. And Mercury is Mercury is in 14 degrees Virgo. What's it doing? Well, it's sort of applies to square Jupiter. And it opposes Saturn. Saturn is retrograde in Pisces at this point. So limitations, okay, there are limitations. So there's something to do with limitations here, maybe to do with health. So limitations following health situations. Could be same old, could be something new. I don't like the position of Chiron here is 22nd degree in Aries, a Chiron retrograde. It can be the lethality of war and the lethality that is involved in autonomy, especially for peoples. I don't like that something is on the degree of to kill and be killed. The ruler of Rahu is Mars, and Mars is in Cancer, which is another thing to not like about this, because Mars in Cancer is not at home. Okay, Cancer is about emotional safety. Mars is about asserting yourself. So, and if you think a person just confidently assert themselves, and no, they feel unsafe, and they may feel that they are reacting, or the self-assertion action can be reacting to something that they can be very sensitive to their safety and react. It's not overreact, because there's something triggering it. There's always a reason, but it does mean a lot of vigilance. Okay, it can be hyper vigilance. And the ruler of Ketu is Venus. Venus is in Libra. Venus is on Spica. By the way, Venus is with the ascendant of Israel right now. So again, this could be a moment for Israel. I don't know. Okay, Venus also rules Israel's sun, and but Uranus has passed Algol by this time, so it's something. I don't know what it is. But the more I'm concerned about is this opposition between Mercury and Saturn. Because there's some sort of limitations, again, limitations on trade, limitations on medicine, limitations on herbs, limitations or and those limitations can be they can be scammy. Pluto is direct on the 29th degree of Capricorn here. And for the last eclipse is October 2nd. October 2nd, 2024 is Libra, and we have in conjunction with Black 11th degree of this one is concerning. This is a point of concern. And this is an applying aspect to 15 degrees Mars in Cancer, which is again not in its best position. There is a trine to from Venus to Saturn, and from Saturn to Mars. So this is a grand water trine. Saturn is retrograde in 14 degrees Pisces. Okay. The ruler of the eclipse is Venus. She's in Scorpio. Yes, she trines Saturn. Yes, she trines Mars, but she's in a degree that is unfavorable. It's a degree of divorce, electricity interferences, aircraft, media, but she's also on the degree of self-inflicted death. Okay, what we call death with dignity, what people call suicide, but more often is an attempt to have death with dignity. And Mercury is on the 11th degree of Libra. To say that I do not like it is to be very tender. I don't know what will be of this eclipse. Situations like the Middle East, which is denoted by Scorpio, are not so favorable. Any countries to do, but also Switzerland. Switzerland is, Libra is about Switzerland as well. Lilith with this eclipse in Libra. Lilith is the archetype of the woman who will not be above or beneath you, but she will only be beside you, or else. Okay, and so there is a change in how Lilith in Libra operates. There is a change in what is equality for this woman that will not be above or beneath you. Okay? So there is a different point of view. We see Lilith from a different point of view. We are asked to do the scales differently when it comes to free women, okay, independent women. But the ruler, Venus, is in Scorpio, and perhaps there can be a discussion about that with dignity here, even to youth, or the financing of that with dignity, or journalism covering that, or interference with the ability of journalists, women journalists that are crime investigators or war investigators to teleport themselves, okay, to either report or yes, the electricity falls or something like this, that is intervention. For we had this when Mercury was in 11 degrees Scorpio with the Sun and I think Mars in Gaza. And even before the war, I had a moment where I was covering assassination of journalists, and I was looking into assassination of journalists, just looking for information because I was looking for a certain pattern that the police is doing. And then I found out that Israel is topping the countries that are accused of assassination of journalists within its borders. So that was a live moment that I just had. But I'm thinking about these things because Mercury's journalism and the ruler Venus in Scorpio can be woman journalist that is looking into war zones, and people try to interfere with her, or bombing, especially where journalists are, so they're forced to run away. Okay, we might be covering, there might be changes in the legislation following such incidents, or attempts to change the legislation, or at least thinking about ways to enforce the law, because there are certain laws that are not being enforced, or that are being enforced very selectively. Also when it comes to children, to reporting, to women. And this is not to do with one country or another, but the atrocities are everywhere, okay? And the injustices are everywhere in every which way. So this is the spirit of this particular one, and this is the last eclipse of 2024, and almost the last eclipse in the cycle of eclipses. Okay, the last eclipse in Aries is in 8 degrees Aries 2025. I will look at it even though it's outside of the scope of this episode, just so you won't be left out in the cold. What's it going to be? Well, what's it going to be? Mercury is going to be retrograde in Aries, and it's going to happen on the 8th degree of Aries. Is 1 degree from the exaltation degree of the Sun, and Chiron is going to be direct, but on the 22nd degree of Aries. Uranus is going to be 1 degree from Algol. So but that's what I have to say about it, because the Sun and Moon don't do very much. And Mars, the ruler of, oh my God, Mars, the ruler, even though Rahu is in Pisces, but the ruler of the eclipse is going to be in 22nd degree of Cancer. So it's going to be both fallen and lethal. They can be military of the people here. Jupiter rules the North Node in Gemini. We're already entering a situation of civil wars. People are becoming militant or lethal, but this can be also army that is made of the people, because this reception between the moon in Aries, okay, Mars ruled, and Mars in Cancer. Well, 22 degrees of Cancer is not too far from Procyon, It is not a Procyon degree, okay? It's a little degree. Saturn is going to be conjuncting Rahu here on the 24th degree of Pisces, and is going to be sextiling Uranus. Look, even in the best of cases, this one is a very difficult one. And Mars is squaring Chiron. Okay, it's sextiling Uranus, it's trining Saturn, but it's squaring Chiron. Mercury is the ruler of Ketu, retrograde in Aries. This can be a situation where people begin to become armed and they want to make a change. But unfortunately, they are only learning how to do this. So some people that never held a gun before need to hold a gun and defend themselves. And this is the last one in the cycle of eclipses in Aries Libra. Okay? The last one is still a beginning, and Mercury is retrograde. Mercury is the ruler of Ketu. So Venus is also retrograde here. Retrograde in Aries, in Pisces. Sorry. So she's applying to conjunct Rahu and Saturn. I wouldn't be surprised if there would be mothers who want their children back and they take a weapon and enter war zones. It's like, enough is enough. I have to get my child back. Poof, enters. And Chiron in the 22nd degree of Aries, Chiron is the wound. So it is the wound of being able to protect yourself. And so you can be both lethal because you are wounded, but also, unfortunately, there can be lethalities because you don't know how to fight yet. You don't know how to assert yourself yet. So it's a very, it's very difficult to say how will it play out, because of course I'm very projective on the future from the point that I'm at. So I'm able to see things from this point. But the essence of people on a mundane level, people or mothers wanting to bring either the children back or fighting for, becoming militant and wanting to take the power into their hands, because Pluto here is already in Aquarius, so they want to take the power into their hands, but now they are armed. Maybe some of them never held a gun before, and there can be letalities when they are doing that. So this is what I see. I don't know how it will play or where will it play a part. Pisces, Virgo, so there could be something to do with Rojava as well. And Cancer, which can denote the United States as well. Okay, so maybe people are invoking the second in the United States and there are lethalities. With Jupiter is the beginning of at least an ideological disputes. Okay, Jupiter in Gemini, ideological disputes here, and people might be invoking the second but finding out that is more difficult, or that the solution to their lack of independence as people is to kill leaders or even military leaders. But if it is the case, the latter, then they are supported by veterans. Well, you know what? It can be homeless veterans invoking the second. Homeless veterans, because I've been getting a lot about these homeless veterans in the United States. And at first I thought that I just care about this deeply, but I understand that there's something happening from there. Because this is also the wound of the independence, of the sense of self. And this is 6th house for United States, right? No, not 6th house, 5th house. Yes, 5th house. See this reception between the moons which rule the people and military forces, but it's also ruling mothers and housing. And it's 8th house. So there's problem with housing in the United States of even veterans. And they, if somebody will begin to invoke the second there, it will be them and the ruler in detriment. It means that there can be a bit of a beginning of a civil war, but around the housing thing, because okay, for those of you who do not know, right now there's the situation that the homeless people that live in tents are being evacuated. They built like tent cities, and they are being evacuated forcibly. And the journalists that came, couple of journalists came to broadcast about this, and they were, some of them, arrested. We don't know if they are alive, even because they cannot report to us. And what the regime is doing is concentration camps, forced labor, and people who don't want are being arrested. Okay, so basically it is concentration and destruction camps. It's just like Germany in the Second World War. This is what's happening today in the United States for Americans. And so if I'm thinking about it can be both the people starting to invoke the second, but also the second is the right of people to carry arms and to shoot at the governors. And for here, a lot of the homeless are veterans. And so if I think about veterans picking up the arms once again, but now to shoot at the regime, and it can be youth as well, but the people who are picking up the arms can be the veterans that were serving the motherland. They're picking up now the arms against the leaders, against people who come to evacuate them. Yes, sun and moon. Something like this. And that is creating like a wound in the trauma of the nation. Because with this, when these veterans will invoke the second, which is what, unfortunately, this is what should happen. But it can be that these veterans will invoke the second, that they will carry out the gun and they will start shooting at the people, at the country, at the leaders that they served. Yes, this is a very big wound in the very big trauma. And I've been saying for so long, house your homeless, house your homeless, house your homeless. Oh my God. But that is my prediction. Again, United States has left the risk of the Pluto return. Okay, so there is still United States, but it is heading towards the Uranus in Gemini. There's time, but there can be a bit of the seeds of the beginning now. And this is what I see for this last eclipse. In other countries, again, I don't know, but it is the people, the army of the people invoking the second in some way. But you see, there is no aspect between the sun and this Mars. So I don't know who are they shooting, but it is not suicide. And they definitely are shooting. And I don't think they're shooting women because this sextile with Uranus is not a hard aspect. And I don't see the hard aspect. So whom are they shooting at? Because they're definitely killing people. Or maybe this army comes to kill people. I don't know what is going on. Or maybe army is dictated to have an illegal order to kill people. This seems more like this. Army is directed to kill its own people, but this is an action that happens. This is not a disobey of illegal order. This is obeying of illegal order. Army shooting at people. And United States is to do with Cancer. Unfortunately, can also be, I think, Iran, which is Pisces here. Some people say Cancer is also associated with Netherlands, which is not impossible. I don't predict this necessarily to be like Israel-Palestine thing at all even. Might be, or I could be completely wrong, but I don't think that this is the direction that this is heading. But for the United States, it can be shooting at the people. And this is going to create a tremendous trauma in the nation, this eclipse, if this is the case. So that's the eclipses. Back to 2024 with what else is going on in 2024. So we've done eclipses. The most important is behind us. Now we're going to have transits, but we're going to have ingresses. Let's begin with outer planets, because Pluto is having a bit of a story here, and I want to take a look at the story. On January 21, 2024, Pluto ingresses back into Aquarius. Okay? That means we're going to have another Pluto retrograde, and then ingress in 2024, January 21, it ingresses back into Aquarius, and it ingresses to meet, to conjunct with the Sun in Aquarius. And oppose a lot of fortune here for a split second. The moon will go over this point. The moon will trine this point. And this is a growing moon. You see, when the distance from the Sun to the moon is smaller than the distance from the moon to the Sun, this is a growing moon. Other way around, decreasing moon. So this is going to be, I think, what the S.J. Anderson called the for good ingress of Pluto into Aquarius. And again, I find this to be a pivotal point. There's a slight square here with Jupiter. It's wide orb. I don't predict that to be the issue. It's all in all a smooth ingress into something, but because an ingress is evident and the Sun is there, there is going to be something on that day even. And this something may have to do with already exposing something in, if people talk about the issues of aliens or leaders that are aliens, we're going to have stories about that. We're going to have intelligence, Sun, and artificial intelligence, technological intelligence, and hidden use of it or hidden developments of it are going to do something in the world. Absolutely. And on a societal, on a mass humanity level, there can be some cultish leaders, hidden societies, secret societies that affect humanity. You know what? Some of the people of Anonymous could be exposed either intentionally, but I believe they are intelligent enough to do this intentionally if this is the case, but can also be that they are being exposed. So because Anonymous is a supposedly decentralized group of people that are hackers and have kind of like a worldly agenda. And so with Pluto ingressing, they might not be, and the Sun visible there, they might not be anonymous, but even if so, it might not be a crisis point, or more so that they have orchestrated it and they have decided to reveal certain leaders or certain faces that are associated with Anonymous is something that I also predict. Okay, because Pluto is something that is taboo, secretive, hidden, but Pluto, even Pluto in itself, is not hidden forever. Okay, it's the stage of growth until the baby is born. It's also birth. And the sun, when the sun is adjacent to Pluto, then what is hidden is exposed. Okay, whenever sun goes over your natal Pluto, you might have more insight also into your hidden, mechanisms, coping mechanisms, and hidden power that you own, or even hidden sense of powerlessness that you believe you have, and you might get a little bit of a self-empowerment when this conjunction happens. So it's a mini crisis, but because of the conjunction, it's a hard aspect. But the harmony from the moon here is well received. People want to hear about this. They are curious about this. It's framed well in the media. So I don't predict that to be too much of a difficulty. The moon does square Saturn here, which is the ruler of this ingress, in 5 degrees Pisces. So there can be an indirect challenge or type of criticism of the people. Moon is the people on a mundane level, or some emotional criticism. I don't predict that to be gaslighting, I have to admit. I think it is more, if it is lies, then it is kind of the lies that you tell as a part of the system or something like this. But it's more Saturn in Pisces 5 degrees, squaring the moon 5 degrees Gemini. I guess just an emotionally difficult, but is mitigated by Pluto and the Sun. So we'll see what it is. And on a personal level, the hard aspect between the Moon and Saturn are where hold on to your moonstone crystal or something like this so that you will go through this transit. But it's just a couple of hours. So that was the story of Pluto. And in September 2, 2024, we have, so this was not the for good one. We're still not done with it. September 2, 2024, Pluto is going back to Aquarius in an incomplete kite shape in the sky. And so it is exactly sextiling Neptune. It is trining Uranus and going back to Capricorn. Venus is sort of a kind of a trine in this, and that's it. Moon is not activating this one, but the Sun is opposing Saturn with the white orb. Saturn is 16 degrees Pisces here, and squaring Jupiter in Gemini. Well, we'll see what it will bring, but right now you just need to know that we are going to go with Pluto into Capricorn again. So Pluto exposing the final stage or depth of hierarchy, hidden, occult, controlling things, and stuff like that. And the ingress, what we call the for good ingress, is 19 November 2024. Have Pluto ingressing into Aquarius, separating from a square, a plan. Mars is separating from an opposition to this. Moon is going to be in Cancer. So Moon is going to go over Procyon at the hours after the ingress, and is going to be well, a sextile still with Neptune and a trine with Uranus, and an incomplete mystic rectangle and incomplete kite shape in the sky. So this ingress, the for good ingress, the November ingress, is going to have the timestamp of the moon applying to oppose Pluto, and Mars separating from the opposition to Pluto. So it's a bit of a relief. It's a relief here. It's a relief, but from Mars, but it's tension from the moon. Pray to Procyon on this day. Petition Procyon on this day. I don't know what will happen with this one. Saturn is going to be 12 degrees Pisces. Wide orb to square Jupiter in 18 degrees Gemini, and sextile sextile Venus in Capricorn. Again, I don't know what it will bring. I know that those things are usually felt. There's a relief from the Mars point. So it seems like we have a relief from Mars opposing Pluto, but then the moon is opposing Pluto. It's a very transient, it's a couple of hours of opposition, but because of this opposition, moon on a mundane level is the people, and also food, you know. It's also nourishment and food and care, and Pluto ingresses as the moon opposes it is not a good timestamp. Okay, so pray to Procyon, 25 degrees of Cancer, perhaps can assist in alleviating that. Yeah, I don't want to begin to try and predict, because it's very far, and I don't want to have this like doom and gloom, which can be totally unnecessary. But this is 19th of November. Okay, so now we have first the Pluto story, the Pluto ingress. And this is just, okay, this is the outer planet story. So, no, Neptune is in Pisces the whole year, which is good. Okay, Uranus is going to go over Algol. Okay, April 2024 is going to be on the 22nd degree of Taurus, which is another very little one, and then it's going to go over Algol. And now the question is more about the retrogrades. So, retrogrades. Well, let's begin with the larger ones. Chiron is going to go direct on January 1st, actually. To July 26th is direct. 207 days. January 1st, Chiron is direct on 15 degrees Aries. It goes retrograde on July 26th on 23 degrees Aries, and it's going to go all the way to December 29, 2024, and until it stations direct on 19 degrees Aries. It will actually station there and go direct on January 1, 2025. Yes, so July to December 2024, end of July to end of December, are going to be with Chiron retrograde. Lilith is direct the whole year. So Black Moon Lilith is direct the whole year. Pluto retrograde is going to be from May 2 until October 12th. May 2 is going to be on 2 degrees Aquarius until 29 degrees of Capricorn, with stations direct. January 1st, 2025, it ingresses, it arrives at 1 degree Aquarius. Okay, so the ingress is October 12th, ingressing into Aquarius. May 2 to October 12th is going to be retrograde. And so this is actually very, very important. Because this one is going to go over the degrees that we are going over now, but again. Okay, not that we went over that, but that we are starting to go over now, but again. Neptune. So Neptune is retrograde from July 2 on 29 degrees of Pisces to December 8 on 27 degrees of Pisces when it turns direct. July 2 to December 8. And the last of the big ones, because we don't have Aries listed here, Uranus is going direct on January 27 until September 1. September 1 is going retrograde until the end of the year. Okay. On April 2024, Uranus is going to be in the 22nd degree of Taurus, where it was in the 7th of October. Lilith is also going to be in the 22nd degree of Taurus. So my predictions are stuff to do with Rojava, is the Lilith return, and stuff to do with Palestine and Israel. Uranus going direct there is going over this point again. And because Lilith is going to be in the 22nd degree, we could have something like a Rojava. But I predict that it would be coming from Israel, because the cases of the raped and beheaded people was in Israel. Okay, so in the best of cases, we could be having a legion of Palestinian and Israeli women that are armed and liberate from those who perform the atrocities within Israel and in other organizations, and liberating them. Okay, liberating themselves by fighting. But because Ketu is going to be Venus ruled, then this could be wishful thinking. Okay, so unfortunately, there can be problems. But Lilith is trining Venus here. Lilith was opposing Saturn on the slaughter, on the 7th of October slaughter. Okay, but Lilith is trining here. And so Lilith is an archetype of a woman who will not be above or beneath you, but only beside you. And Uranus going over this slaughter degree again direct, Lilith will be in a different position. Okay, she went from the yin conjunct, so women were sacrificed. Not only women, there were mass graves, there were elderly, there were children. but this time they can be armed Lilith, Armia of Liliths, and because the slaughter and beheading was towards Israelis, my darlings, it's not a good idea to be a man who mistreats women or even is in the vicinity of cooperating and not doing anything about this, because it's not impossible to have a Rojava style. And if there were the women at Howard that were seeing rape as a part of liberation, I think that they should stay in the bunker in April 2024. And I'm being very tender. Because this is not what I support. What I support is to solve the problem and to kill the people who do this. Okay, not for them to suffer, exterminate them, final solution so that no civilians and babies have to die from either side. But I don't make the rules. And here with Uranus close to Algol, she can do return to sender. And if Ketu is ruling, if Ketu is those women in Howard, oh my God. Because Uranus direct, if you think about the retrograde as a point of something happen, direct is the response. Okay, we're touching on this point again. But this time with Lilith they're trining Uranus from a Mercury point of view. Okay, from a Virgo Mercury point of view. This is the Lilith of the Legion of Women in Rojava that killed those who kidnapped the Yazidi women. This is the Legion. Lilith in 2022, in 22 degrees of Libra is the Legion of Women in Rojava that slaughtered ISIS. And they're going to be assisting Uranus on the 22nd degree of Virgo. But then Venus is ruling Ketu, so I don't know. Is it revenge? Is it redemption? Is it, God forbid, more slaughter of women? It's like, I don't know, But I can tell you it's not pretty. And the women in Harvard need to go into the bunker. Is what I have to say. The women in Howard that supported rape as part of supposed liberation, they need to go into the bunker. They need to live in a bunker for like a lot of time now. Because they are visible. Okay? Also, yeah. But also can be explosions. Okay, Uranus is explosions. So they can be explosions. But because I look at what happened, the 22 degree, okay, the bombings of Israel, that Israel was bombing is 21 degree of Uranus. Okay. But the 7th of October, it was slaughter and ritual sacrifice, was things that Algol deals with. And when Uranus goes there again, not looking pretty. Not looking pretty. And in the best of cases, it's a legion of women that slaughters whoever tries to do anything to them. Okay, but this is in the best of cases, and again, we don't know what is going to be. But anybody that is in any way supportive of rape as a part of liberation, my God, stay in the bunker, retreat to yourself. Like really, I don't know how. I don't have any ways to say this. Especially when Mars is going to right this November is going to combust with the Sun in Scorpio, 25 degrees, and watch the episode by Lada about this. This will tell you the spirit of the time is going to be fighting for what it believes to be true, but it can also be the goal justifies the means. What can I say? You know, if people think that more rape and more slaughter is the answer, that can backfire in ways, in algol ways. But also, no, because this is it. This is it. The bombing of was with Uranus on the 21st degree, not the 22nd. This is 7 of October, darlings. This is 7 of October. The ritual sacrifice of people who lived in Israel is 7 of October. And now the direct, okay? If people think to complete such that it's like to do more of the same, whether it's from within or from outside, they are leave it in 22nd degree. They are in for a very unpleasant surprise. Very unpleasant surprise. I don't make the rules because if you think what I think that such people should be stopped dead in their tracks by any means necessary, and they don't have to suffer. And if they need to be dead, it's okay. But they don't. I don't. But Shirley doesn't make the rules. This is Algol, and she is angry. She's angry, and she is angry. She is angry, and she's especially angry also of the women that cooperated with such things. Okay, so she's very angry. And Lilith is going to be in the 22nd degree with Uranus trining Uranus. And it's going to be around eclipses, okay? Around the 8th of April. It's going to be later in April, but it's going to be quite, less than a month after an eclipse. And Aries, I think, is also going to be on the 22nd degree. Okay. There can be a battle of lethalities. Here, it's one of the things that I'm most concerned about in 2024. I admit this. Because I saw what happened on October 7. We've seen what happened on October 7, and this has been hugely ignored. And again, you can understand the reasons, what happened in Gaza afterwards. You can understand that takes the attention. You can't judge. But if what happened on the 7th is something that the whole world needs to be shaking, like what happened in Ukraine with the women there. And also Ukraine. We can have a Rojava in Ukraine. These women can say we had enough, and that's it. By any means necessary, that's it. Okay? So this is very dangerous for the people who participated in the slaughter of October 7th. Very dangerous. But also for people who did rape Ukrainian women. Okay, I haven't seen, it's not, again, it's more October 7th, but because of Lilith, it's the placement of the Rojava case, and also Aries. And so, can be mass slaughter by women of men. Okay? Mass slaughter by women of men. Because they no longer wait for somebody. And because of the presence of Uranus, is I talked about Uranus today in another episode, in other context, but in this case, very, very problematic. Very, very problematic. I must remind you that the people who were slaughtered in the 7th of October, most of them, it's not just that they were innocent civilians, it's that they were, most of them pro-Palestinians, free men and women. They were dancing together in a party. Elderly people, children, that perhaps some of these children will grow to be genderqueer. Maybe some of them are gay. We don't know because they are still children, okay? And what is needed is to create the world into which we can bring the people back. This is exactly a minuscule case of Rojava. Okay, what happened in Rojava? They kidnapped 7,000 Yazidi women for sex trafficking, 7,000 Yazidi girls. Then women took arms and they killed. They slaughtered ISIS. They slaughtered ISIS. And what was done here on 7th of October was a kind of a replay of that. And things that I don't want to even begin to imagine to you because I save you the triggers. And I save me the triggers. But with Lilith, Uranus coming back to this degree close to Algol and to Israel's sun. Okay? Israel here, if it tries to do something not good to women, they will run by the fury of Lilith. But here is also is a very big mess, I can say. Very, very big mess. But I think maybe, and again for Rojava is having a Lilith return. I don't know what is happening right now. I know they're still establishing themselves. Rojava is having a Lilith return. So Rojava women actually can be very, very, this information reaches them. The blood is going to go to the veins, and from there to have a legion of women that is, the best would be Israeli-Palestinian legion of women, and finish off everything. Any such case, finish off. But it's an intricacy. Venus is ruling Ketu, okay? And Uranus is in Venus sign, co-present with Jupiter. And there is Aries on the 22nd degree that is ruled by Mars, okay? So people who have been marginalized. And then there is Lilith. And Lilith and Aries are in conjuncting. Okay? So, who will be, yes? And I don't know where is Mars at that point, because perhaps the location of Mars can tell us. Mars is going retrograde. Okay, let's go for Saturn first. Saturn is going retrograde on June 29 until November 15, 2024 in Pisces. One more Saturn retrograde in Pisces. We've seen how that went. It can go similarly with the Titanic and the refugees and the ganze Geschäft, but also the direct motion. It's a very big problem with Saturn in Pisces. Jupiter retrograde October 9 and until 2025. So it's direct, and from 2024 until October 9 is direct, and then it goes retrograde until the end of the year and more. So it will go retrograde in Gemini already. Okay, Jupiter leaves Taurus and goes to retrograde in Gemini. Jupiter in Gemini, I think, is one of the, it is probably because before Saturn will enter Gemini, Uranus will enter Gemini, and Jupiter in Gemini is the last predictor of Uranus in Gemini, of the feel of Uranus in Gemini. Okay. I said this when I talked about Mars squaring Neptune from Gemini, that is the greatest to feel in Uranus in Gemini without actually having Uranus in Gemini. Jupiter entering Gemini for 1 year is going to give us the feel of what the religious debates are going to be, that are going to become more radicalized when Uranus pops in 2025, I believe. Mars is retrograde on December 7 in Leo until January 1. Okay. So Mars is going from Sag to Leo. Okay. What I like about Mars going from Sag to Leo, I think Mars is going to be in Cancer in April. I don't like it because it means that we're not going to have a lot of rational players on board when the 7th of October point is going to be hit, and the Lilith return for Rojava is going to be hit, and Ukraine and Russia are also, ruled by this Scorpio-Taurus axis, and so the rational players are going to be a bit absent from the arena. Not looking good at all. But Mars is retrograde from December 7 in Leo, and will be retrograding until the end of the year. Mars in Leo is making a show out of war. Okay? And again, war is ridiculous. So Mars retrograde might be looking back and reflecting upon the ridiculousness of the show that he was doing when he was in Leo. Mars in Leo is making a show out of war. Israel, by the way, has Mars in Leo. Okay, so the retrograde in December 7 is also going to pinpoint the natal Mars of Israel. It's just the same sign that we have. And so the war show, people are going to reflect on the show element and the performative element of military activity. But this is going to be on a mundane level with countries that specifically have Mars in these placements. Then, of course, we're going to see this more. But again, if it is not personal in your chart or something like this, then you're not going to feel it that much. We may see satires, we may see shows. You think about Charlie Chaplin when he was imitating Adolf Hitler in his movie, okay? Such show can be filmed or broadcasted after a Mars retrograde like this, because it's where people are going to look at both at a war as a show, but also if they are going to see movies, then they are going to see war in the movies. And because war is ridiculous, then we're not unlikely to see satire popping up, okay? Put into ridicule the show of war. And also, Leo is ruled by the sun, is visible. In December, December 7, the sun is Sagittarius, right? No? December 7, sun is Sagittarius, right? November, Scorpio, and then from 22 is Sagittarius. So we can have a bit of a Monty Python. It's going to be like dead serious, kind of like historical, not historical, like dead serious war movie, or it's going to be like a bit of a Monty Python. And if it's going to be Monty Python, yes, because this is, of the legend, the king is naked, okay? And so whatever Mars will try to do here, if it is not on the right, This will be exposed. This will be exposed because Mars is going to try to make a show out of something. But this is not Scorpio, okay? This is not where Mars is like getting to the nitty-gritty of what is right, okay? Mars wants the right to be visible, but he first must make sure that it is right. And so when the Sun is in Sagittarius, we can reflect on the nature of righteous acts or righteous wars. Okay, this is exactly the type of things that we're going to see with various degrees of seriousness or ridiculousness. Okay, it can be dead serious philosophical thought, or it can be a bit of a Monty Python, perhaps more effective, more satirical, and we literally show like, oh, the king is naked. Oh, we are doing performative, blah, blah, blah. We are bombing the this, we are bombing the that. There is a, where are the children? Underneath the bombs, okay? That is unfortunately what we're going to have. But it can be from a different time frame, historical or whatnot. Venus. So Venus is direct the whole year. She's cutting us some slack. After her retrograde in Leo, now we're going to have Mars retrograde in Leo. So Venus retrograde in Leo was the Barbie movie, and it's like, is the Barbie movie funny? Is it laughing at the indigenous communities? Is it good? Is it that? Everybody was talking about the Barbie movie. So we had that, a little bit of a touch-ups on like the Me Too stuff. And pretty much that's it. Everybody divorced. Everybody divorced. Okay, fine. And everybody divorced. But now it's going to be Mars. So this the point, the hilariousness of the show is not the feminist woman or the relationship woman or the performative woman or the nature of desire. It is the nature of desire from a different point of view. It is the ridiculousness of the warrior, especially the one who is fighting for the not for the land, for the leader. Those who represent the leader. Okay, Israel has it natally, Mars in Leo, so probably a good satire will come from here. Yes, absolutely. So that is one thing that maybe we're looking forward to. Like you can't have a world war without a satire, so at least we'll have some good satire if we'll be alive to see it, and if those who will do it will be alive after they do it. But yes, but unfortunately the dark side can be that there can be an increased desire to make a performative show out of war. We see that in Israel, like we literally see that, okay? We literally see that the performative and the visible act of we're going to do like this, we're going to do like that, and then the militarism is very performative, but it's like, where are the kidnapped people? And some of the people, there is a procedure called Hannibal procedure, that basically it has its reasoning, but it's, let's say somebody is kidnapped by people, then before the people manage to run with the hostage, you can kill everybody, including the hostage, so that they will not be kidnapped. Okay, it has its reasoning, but you can see how that can go wrong. So many people that died on 7th of October also died from Israeli fire. Even if you don't say betrayal, but even if you say there's no betrayal, no this, no that, just by the procedure of Hannibal, a lot of people died from Israeli fire, and basically that was, of course, orchestrated by whoever performed these cicadas. This was a war show, yes, but because this show also included beheading, torturing of people, and slaughter, the goddess Medusa might have a thing to say here on April, and I talked about this too. But Venus is cutting us some slack. She is going to be direct the whole year. That's it. Ruling Ketu, direct, not making problems. Mercury. So Mercury is going to be mainly in fire signs and some, okay. Mercury retrograde. First Mercury retrograde will still be from 2023. From Sag, it enters in 2022 degree on January 1 to 2024, and is going to be retrograde until January 2nd. What's going on here, darlings? Oh, it's ending its retrogression in on the 20. Oh my lord, no! Mercury is going direct on Sagittarius on the 22nd degree of to kill and be killed. Please let it be just a satire. Like, this is not good. It's stationing direct and it's going direct on the 22nd degree of Sagittarius. This can be killed or killing. You know what this can be? And it's like the religious journalist that is either killing or being killed, or the philosophical journalist, or the satirical. It's yucky. It's yucky. But we definitely are going to be rethinking our philosophies in terms of applied philosophy, pragmatism. So the philosophy of pragmatism is definitely going to be thoroughly reconsidered during this retrograde motion in 2023 and into 2024. The next retrograde is going to be in the next fire sign, which is Aries. April 2nd. So it's going to be on 27 degrees Aries. And then until April 25, where it's going to reach all the way back to 15 degrees Aries. Going over Chiron, okay, going over Rahu. I think Rahu is still there by April. And this means that during the eclipse of April 8, Mercury is retrograde in Aries. So the applied praxis of asserting ourselves is also war, okay? The trickery of war is being reconsidered. We're having an eclipse when we are still rethinking the trickstery that we need in when we assert our freedom. Highly tragic and satirical. So this is another retrograde in fire sign, where we are rethinking our or how we communicate. We might think the media at war, or satire at war. Okay, we might be rethinking those things or those themes. Maybe people will finally speak up about the infringement of the first constitution law in the United States, where it's like freedom of speech and its connection to people being evacuated from their tents, okay, into working camps. Like, maybe we'll see something with that, or a vision of something, or maybe we will actually see fighting for, like, rethinking about the relations between journalism and war, but also children and war. I don't know. Next retrograde is actually happening on August 5 in 4 degrees Virgo. That goes back to Leo, so it's another fire sign, but with 4 degrees in Virgo, in an earth sign. Some people liked the Virgo part of the Mercury retrograde because Mercury is at home in Virgo, but even if, then it's going to go retrograde in Leo. And what else is going to be retrograde in Leo, not at the same time, but later that year, is Mars. Okay? So we're going to have 2 retrogrades that cover the ground of Leo. One is going through Regulus, which is in Virgo now, and the end of Leo, and the other going through, Mars, I think, is in the beginning of Leo. And so we can question the relation between communication and our leaders and performances, the languages, and cancel culture. We might be rethinking cancel culture in a way. Okay. So we might be pondering about this. The media through which we perform might change, the internet might change, some trade, how we get paid for our performances, but also how leaders get paid, and the media and leadership are going to be here at question. with a few degrees of Virgo, also to with authors, herbalists, and stuff like that. I think with the Mercury retrograde in Virgo and the Venus kind of luring, this year we've seen herbalists being forced to serve people who cannot have abortion. Okay, and I cannot say more about this, but if you need a herbalist, okay, I'm not a herbalist, but you know, you can look for a person that can do that. And the next retrograde, and August 29 on 21 degrees of Leo, Mercury is direct. And then we're gonna have another, my God, we're gonna have another retrograde on the 22nd degree of Sagittarius again, until 6 degrees Sagittarius. Thank you for conjuncting my Rahu, my Ketu. And that is from November 26 to December 15. Again, Mercury enters 2024 on the 22nd degree, retrograde, and it will retrograde on that, it begin its next retrograde on the 22nd degree of Sag. Okay, this is where the philosophy of freedom leads to lethality. And there can be little words, there can be little agreements. There can be journalists being killed, unfortunately, for freedom. People, journalists, kids, juristics, people with juristic can be killed, murdered, assassinated, okay? Unfortunately, people might die for freedom, but people of Mercury kind. And it's not just developing weapon or no, it can be people dying. It's the 22nd degree of Sagittarius is 20 seconds to kill and be killed. Then this is to kill and be killed for the motive, which is the sign itself of freedom or religion. Okay, so death in the name of religion, death in the name of God, all because of a satire that you wrote about this. Okay, so yes, anybody marketing cyanide pills? We people of the word, asking for a friend. So this is the retrogression. Of course, I can sit here like 5 hours and do the lunations and the this and the that, and I might do it in another episode or cut it into 2 halves. But I gave you kind of like the glimpse. Okay, we talked about the eclipses, we talked about ingresses of basically of Pluto. Okay, not much. And then we talked about the retrogrades, and we talked about April 2024, which I'm highly concerned about. But hey, it's not like the Mercury retrograde is looking fabulous as well. And so for highlights of 2024, I will need to take a deeper dive. But this is the bit of the beginning, and it's already a time to talk about this. So, and we will already have the first glimpse into the set of eclipses that will take place in Pisces Virgo axis. Okay, perhaps less harmful than what we had, the Scorpio Taurus, the Ukrainian war, the Ukraine war, and then Israel had to Israel Palestine, because we can't have a Scorpio Taurus axis without doing something, and because that's the Middle East. But then the Libra Aries, which is a particularly warish axis that we never like to be in. So Pisces Virgo, unless you are Pisces and Virgo ascendants, it's going to be a bit of a relief from that. Okay, I don't like the Pisces Virgo because last time it was with Chiron on my ascendant and Ketu, and I believed I genuinely am losing my identity and dying. I was a period where I thought I might develop deed. So yeah, but other than that, it's very personal because on a humanity level, this can actually be an okayish axis. Okay, it's Jupiter and Mercury, new philosophies, new religions, and yeah, old herbs, new religions. Kind of a Terence McKenna type of a thing. So this is the first glimpse into 2024. It's absolutely not the entire year. And I hope you have enjoyed this broadcast or forecast. I'll see you in another video. Bye-bye.